Hey dudes, we're talking about the last of the cards from Homelands today. There's only 10 artifacts and 5 lands in this set, so I've lumped them both together in this video. If you've missed any of the videos on the colors, I've linked those videos in a pinned comment so you can check them out there if you'd like. Anyway, let's get started. And for our first artifact, we have Apocalypse Chime. Woo! Apocalypse Chime is a rare. It is an artifact that costs 2 mana, and you can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice Apocalypse Chime to bury all cards from the Homelands expansion. Hilarious stuff. So the set hosers started with Arabian Nights. There was City in a Bottle, and then Golgothi Silex in Antiquities. And then while Legends doesn't technically have a set hoser, it does have Arena of the Ancients, which I am pretty sure was inspired by set hosers. It basically fucks all the legendary creatures, which at the time the only legendary creatures were in Legends. So it did kind of act like a set hoser. They also had Caracas, which, you know, again, not a set hoser, but kinda. And then we didn't have any more of those for a while, and then we had Apocalypse Chime here. So set hosers are really funny. People like to point and laugh at them. And, you know, fair enough. They also like to call it bad game design, which, again, fair enough. I will kind of push back on that a little bit. Apocalypse Chime is probably not defensible. Like, by this point, you guys should have known better. But City in a Bottle especially was designed specifically because Richard Garfield did not want players to have to feel like they had to buy into a new product in order to play the game. He didn't want expansions to be forced on people, and he didn't want people to have to like play against them if they didn't want to. It's why he originally pushed so hard for the card backs to be different, so that like when you were looking at cards, you could say, "Oh, hey, you have Arabian Nights cards. I don't want to play with you. Fuck you." Like, it was a pro-consumer move. At least that was the original logic behind it. Now, this turned out to be kind of stupid and doesn't really work because, one, the set hosers are all, like, rare, so they're not common. You'd have to search them out. And also, you would have to, like, buy into the product to opt out of the product. So I won't say that the set hosers were, like, a stroke of brilliance or anything like that. But I do think people are a little too harsh on them. And it's like the same thing with the Arabian Nights card backs. Everyone just laughs at the decision like it's ridiculous, and there's no reason to do it, and there's no like it's just like they look at it like it's stupid. But I don't think it was stupid. I think these came about from real concerns that Richard had that would inevitably prove to be incredibly true. Now, Richard was on file at some point saying Standard fixed this, but let's look at fucking Standard. You think it still has this fixed? Like, you could look at this very similar to the Universes Beyond thing, right? Like how some players are like, I just do not want to be involved in this at all. If you have some empathy when you look at this, I think that these are, while I don't think they're good, I can respect the idea behind them, and I can appreciate the fact that they just really, especially Richard at the time, just really didn't want players to have to deal with shit that they didn't want to, which I think is noble. The set hosers themselves are I don't want to say bad. City in a Bottle is really good and is actually pretty relevant in certain old schools. Like, it's definitely a card you should sideboard if you have access to it, because it shuts down some pretty awesome shit. And a lot of the Arabian Nights cards are just really powerful, like the Jinns and Afrits. There are quite a few playable cards in that, so it's not uncommon to see a City in a Bottle in a sideboard. Golgothi Silex also has some good targets, but it's kind of too expensive to do, and it doesn't have as many good targets. Obviously, Mishra's Factory is fucking cracked, but I mean, it does have decent targets, but again, it costs way more, and it's not quite as good. Apocalypse Chime, I mean, I've seen it in sideboards in, like, specifically, like, 95 stuff. That being said, I don't think this one is good enough. It doesn't. So this one is different than City in a Bottle because it doesn't say you can't play Homelands cards, right? It just buries Homeland permanent. So this doesn't do anything against like memory lapse or Merchant Scroll, or like really any of the good Homelands cards. There's like a couple, I guess, this hits, but it's certainly kind of funny. And I'm not gonna say you're stupid for playing around with it. I don't think that it is worth it. That being said, if I mean, I could be wrong. Some of the Homelands cards are okay, and people did play it in the Pro Tour, which again they had the whole you have to play at least 5 cards from every expansion, and it makes more sense in that environment because you're like, well, they definitely have Homelands cards, right? Because they have to. Um, Still, I don't think this is particularly strong. If you're playing a limited and you get this, it's like fucking game over unless you guys ban it for some reason. But I don't think you should. I think you should just let somebody have this. I think it's really pretty fucking good in limited. But outside of that, I mean, maybe there are permanents in this set that are not embarrassingly bad. So like, it's definitely possible. I do think you have better options in your sideboard though. But yeah, Apocalypse Chime. It's kind of funny and like I said, really good in limited specifically. Just blows up everything. Outside of that, maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. But yeah, I guess that's all that I have to say on Apocalypse Chime. It's an interesting and funny card, but not great. I can see why they got away from these. Apocalypse Chime was illustrated by Mark Poole, and the art goes fucking hard. The art on this is amazing. This is fantastic. It's really detailed. It's very cool. It has that old, just kind of a picture of an artifact style of art that I really fucking love. This is super cool. The art is a banger. 10 out of 10. But let's move on. All right, next we have Clockwork Gnomes. Clockwork Gnomes is a common. It is a 2/2 artifact creature that costs 4 mana. You can pay 3 mana and tap this to regenerate target artifact creature. It's worth noting that you can target itself with this and regenerate itself. 3 mana and tap to regenerate target artifact creature is quite pricey, but not offensively so. 4 mana for a 2/2 with an overcosted ability is also, it's not great. But it is a common artifact creature. This does have I think this is awesome in limited specifically, because you will probably end up playing 2, maybe even 3 colors, and if that's the case, Clockwork Gnomes is going to be way easier to cast. The other nice thing is that there are actually quite a few artifact creatures in this set specifically, and I think all of them are common, at least most of them. There's a couple that are common. We'll see. The point is that in limited, this is actually pretty legit. This is pretty decent. So I would definitely be grabbing these up just so that you don't have to fucking deal with them. That's also why I think Chandler is the one that hits artifact creatures. He's actually pretty decent in limited specifically. Granted, getting 3 red to use his ability is kind of a tall ask, but there are a lot of artifact creatures in this set, so if you were going to play with just these cards, there would be a lot of artifact creatures. Yeah, other than that, I guess let's point at the bad things. This is Clockwork Gnomes. At this point, Clockwork is kind of an established... I mean, archetype isn't the right word, but at this point, there's Clockwork Beast and there's Clockwork Avian, and there might be one more I'm not remembering. But the point is up until this point, all Clockwork creatures come into play with a number of counters that affect how powerful they are, and then you can add more. And whenever you attack, it takes away a counter. So this doesn't feel like a Clockwork thing at all. It doesn't My complaint is not with the card here per se. It's just with the naming convention of the card. I don't think you should have called this Clockwork Gnomes. There are already Clockwork cards, and this doesn't do anything with them. That being said, it's a minor complaint. It's not. I certainly don't care about it, but it's just another thing to We're all having fun pointing and laughing at Homelands, right? So might as well throw more fuel on that fire. I guess that's all I really have to say about it. It's a basic creature. It's overcosted, but not by a whole lot, and its ability is pretty useful, specifically unlimited, or if you are going to play with a lot of artifact creatures, which is not necessarily a bad thing to do, especially if you do have older cards, right? Because casting this off of a Mishra's Workshop is pretty okay. There's better things to cast off of a Mishra's Workshop, but like, you know, maybe this is the third or fourth artifact creature that you're considering. It should probably be the fourth or fifth, honestly. But whatever. Point is it's not terrible. Clockwork Gnomes was illustrated by Douglas Schuler, and I love the art. I think the art's really fantastic. I think his style really goes well with this scene specifically. They look very cute and just very funny and very... I don't know. I like it. I think this one's fantastic. It's a solid and kind of interesting card. Like, it just... The effect doesn't really have the whole Clockwork thing going for it, but whatever. And then we have Clockwork Steed. Okay. 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 Alright. Clockwork Steed is a common. It is a 0/3 that costs 4 mana. Cannot be blocked by artifact creatures. When Clockwork Steed comes into play, put 4+1/+0 counters on it. At the end of any combat in which Clockwork Steed attacked or blocked, remove one of these counters. X tap. Put X+1/+0 counters on Clockwork Steed. You may have no more than 4 of these counters on Clockwork Steed. Use this ability only during your upkeep. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is what a Clockwork at this point. Okay, so now there are... So why did we name the other one Clockwork? Like, why is... I don't know. I guess if you're going to have Clockwork Steed, I'm glad they didn't make Clockwork Gnome also like this, but just call it fucking something different. They don't have to be Clockwork Gnomes. They can be autonomous gnomes or whatever. I don't know. It's just pick a different fucking adjective. This is pretty decent. It's kind of crazy to see this at a common. The other Clockworks were uncommons, but there were no common artifacts or artifact creatures until... I guess Antiquities had some common artifacts, I think. I don't know. I don't remember that much about all these sets, even though I probably should, considering how much I fucking look at them. Anyway, Clockwork Steed here is pretty cool. Like, the Clockwork creatures were pretty popular. So, and while this is definitely complicated, right? Like, I've been complaining about how complicated and unnecessarily complicated these cards are. That being said, I'm going to give Clockwork Steed here a pass, because this text block is basically just copy-pasted from other cards that exist. This is, again, not an archetype, and they've only done 2 before this, but it's, like, kind of a thing. So I'll give this some slack on that front. It is really fucking weird to call both of these Clockwork, and for them to have nothing to do with each other, and this one to just be an homage to, like, what was already Clockwork. But that's not this card's problem. This is pretty sick. It's actually pretty decent. It's a 4/3 for 4 mana. And granted, every time you attack, it loses its counters. So it's certainly not, like, super great for a long game. You have to put more into it. But these Clockwork Beasts are pretty okay, especially if you're running Mishra's Workshop. Which you probably aren't if you're playing Homelands cards. But... with that, like, it's really nice and easy to slam these Clockworks down as super quickly using a lot of ramp, and then just to, like, aggro really fast, and then sack them to, like, an Ashnod's Altar for, like, a fireball or something, or for a different Clockwork Beast. And there's other things you could sacrifice it for, too. But these are interesting. They're pretty decent. They're not, like, super good by any stretch of the imagination, but... depending on what cards you have with them, they are actually pretty solid. They're also just very fun. People really like them, and I can see why. Yeah, I don't know. I think this one's great. I have no problem with this. This design is pretty... Like I said, this design had been done before, and it's pretty popular. Clockwork Avian... or the original was Clockwork Beast, I think, and Clockwork Avian and Antiquities, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say on it. It's certainly not a super strong or powerful card, but it's pretty decent. And again, in Limited, you can play this pretty easily in your multicolored deck. The nice thing is that in Limited, you often do find yourself with a little bit of extra mana in your turn, just because all the cards are expensive and suck. So pumping this up in Limited is not anywhere near as detrimental as it is in, like, Constructed. This was illustrated by Amy Weber. I really like Amy Weber's art. I think this is fantastic. This one kind of feels a little bit like It almost looks like it has a real horse head. I don't think it does, but it looks a little bit like hoary. But it looks a little like kind of messed up. But I do really appreciate her kind of gears and spokes when she does this kind of style of thing. I like it. I think Amy Weber was a great person to do this card. I think it's fantastic. But that's all I have on Clockwork Steeds. Let's move on. What the fuck? I swear I read through all of these cards before I did this. I did not read. There's 3 Clockworks out of. There's 10 artifacts. What are we doing? Okay, I guess we're really going hard in clock. Why did we call Clockwork Gnomes Clockwork Gnomes? Why did we do that? Okay, all right. So this is an artifact creature. It's a 0/3. It's a common. It's a 0/3 for 4 mana. Cannot be blocked by walls. Okay, interesting. When Clockwork Swarm comes into play, put 4 yada 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 yada. Same text. Yeah. Okay. All right. So they're the exact same card, except one is can't be blocked by artifacts, which is pretty interesting, and this one is can't be blocked by walls, which I guess is also pretty interesting. Why? Why are we doing this? Like, were we so desperate for ideas that we couldn't come up with fucking anything? Like, there's not that many cards. There's not that many cards in this set. There's only 10 fucking artifacts, and 3 of them start with clock. Oh, okay. 1 second. Oh, thank fuck. All right. Yeah, I checked. 3 of them start with Clockwork, and 2 of them are the same fucking card. It's fucking crazy. I guess everything I said about the last one kind of holds true. It is weird that they did 2 of these in the same fucking set. Like, you only have 10 artifacts, and all right, I guess. I like the Clockwork cards. I don't want to complain about this too much. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Why are we doing this? It's the same fucking card. It's like this set is just like 5 fucking cards. It's just 5 fucking cards. It's just copy pasted. God, it feels so lazy. It's so crazy to me. It feels like zero thought was given to the customer experience. Like, this is not, like, this is basic shit, right? Right? Like, this is, like, did no one flip through the card file and just not see that, oh, why do why do we have 2 cards called Ambush? Why do we have 3 Clockwork cards, 2 of which are just the same fucking card, and a third that has nothing to do with Clockworks? Just rename some shit. It's like, this is the same card. It is wild to me. I don't mind this card. It's fine. I like the Clockwork Horse a little bit better. I just value not being blocked by artifact creatures more than I value being blocked by walls, but I suppose that would depend on your meta. This one was also illustrated by Amy Weber. The art is fine. Her classic style, like it. It's got the clocks and the wings and all the shit that she likes, and her usual color schemes. I'm a big fan of it. I like the horse a little bit better. And yeah. Let's move on. Next, we have Didgeridoo. Didgeridoo is a rare. It's an artifact that costs 1 mana, and you can pay 3, take a Minotaur from your hand and put it directly into play as though it were just summoned. Man, if they ever print a Minotaur that doesn't suck, this thing might be pretty good. Didgeridoo is hilarious. It's probably one of the funniest speculations of all time ever. Or people like, eventually they're gonna fuck up and print a broken Minotaur, man. Didgeridoo is pretty funny, and realistically, it's not that bad. I heard it was used in pre-modern in a standstill deck to like get Minotaur. Like, there's like an Azet Minotaur or whatever that's like not the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen, and you just fucking stand still and then you didgeridoo out your threats, which is hysterical. This card definitely has some uses. All of them involve Minotaurs, of course, but It's pretty decent. It's also pretty pricey for a Homelands card, which is really funny. But that, again, that makes sense because like the card is fucking kind of cracked. 3 mana to bust something out. Problem with it, at least in this set, is like all the Minotaurs are like 3 or 4 mana, and there's no standstill in this set. So like, there's no reason to like ever do this. But it is pretty funny. I'd probably draft it and just do Minotaur Tribal, just because, like, who the fuck cares how good you do in this set, right? I'm just here for the memes. I don't know. I like Didgeridoo. I think it's interesting to think about. You could do funny shit with it, because can you imagine a power artifact on a Didgeridoo? That's Minotaurs for 1 mana, baby. Holy shit. Now we're fucking just flooding the board. uh, I like this card. I really like this card a lot because it's funny. It's not particularly good. And when it is good, like, you can't even be mad. Like, if somebody fucking figures out a way to whoop your ass with Didgeridoo, how do you even be upset about that? This is probably, like, this is peak Magic card design right here, is this card specifically, for so many reasons. It brings joy to my heart. I would not play it though. It's not probably worth playing. Although it would be funny and limited, and I guess you could fuck around with it in like 95. And like I said, in pre-modern, it does see some play. I don't know how like good that deck is, but it is interesting. Any card that does something relatively unique can be broken in unexpected ways. And this card is just begging to be broken. But yeah, 10 out of 10 card. This was illustrated by Melissa A. Benson. Fantastic art. Really great. Love Melissa's work. This one's really fucking funny. I guess I don't have anything else to say about Didgeridoo, though. Alright, so let's talk about Ebony Rhino. Ebony Rhino is a common. It is a 4/5 that costs 7 mana, and it has trample. Fucking sick. This is pretty solid. It's a decent enough, like, high end for limited. Obviously, 7 mana for a 4/5 with trample isn't, like, the best rate, but that's okay on an artifact, because it's colorless. You can cast this with anything. This can't block Clockwork Horse, which is really rough. You're going to have to figure out a way around this. And if anyone has a Chandler, you're going to have to deal with that before you bust out the boy. But other than those two considerations, this is just a pretty solid card. I mean, it's obviously nothing special. I kind of appreciate it. But the thing I appreciate about it most is the simplicity. There's so many cards here that are just like, you can't do this, you can't do that. You have to do this at this point specifically. Are you still having fun? Because that's also not allowed. And this card is just like, yeah, dude, 7 mana. I'll run at him. But not this turn, I don't have haste. And I appreciate that. I know I've been, like, kind of harping on the new player experience, and this isn't, like, a new player product, right? It's just a product, but, you know, you got to be cognizant of that, I think, especially at a time where you don't really have an onboarding process of other than just, hey, go buy some cards. And by that very nature, new expansions, especially ones that fucking suck, are just going to end up in the hands of new players more often. Who do you think bought more Fallen Empires? Like, tournament grinders or fucking poor kids? So, like, that's who got those cards. Because, like, if a set is good with, like, really powerful tournament cards and, like, underprinted or highly valued, anyone with any sort of know in the game is going to scoop it all up before anyone else gets the chance to. And so anyone who just, like, happens to wander by and get caught into the net of the game at any point, they are likely going to end up with the latest core set and the latest expansion sets. Or the expansion sets that are selling for really cheap, which are going, you know, most cases are going to be the latest expansion sets or the unpopular ones. And if the latest expansion set is good and it sells out immediately, it will just be the ones that didn't sell out. And obviously they aren't thinking about all this at the time, and it's not right to even judge them for it. This is very early into the game's design, so, like, mistakes are bound to happen. But you gotta be cognizant of this, because these bad cards are going to end up in the hands of new players, and sure, those players aren't going to necessarily know they're bad cards, but they'll fucking figure it out when they play against someone's Black Lotus, right? And I'm not saying that this set needed shit like Black Lotus. Obviously, those cards are too much. But, like, I don't see what the harm is in giving these, like, why are all the cards so bad? I'm getting on dumb rants that don't matter and don't have anything to do with our poor boy Ebony Rhino here. You're perfectly fine at this mana cost, my dude. Ebony Rhino is great. I love this card. It's illustrated by Amy Weber, and the art is fantastic. It's a banger. I really, really like this kind of, just the vibe of it. I don't know. It's very cool. I'm a big fan of this one. All right, next we got Pharaoh's Bane? Pharaoh's Bane? I'm not sure. Anyway, this is a rare. It's an artifact. Summon spells each cost an additional 2 to cast. Yeah, take that, new player, with your 7 mana 4/5. Get fucked, nerd. So, this card's pretty funny. I mean, if you can figure out a way to cheat this out, it's not terrible. 6 mana is a lot for this kind of effect, but it definitely should not be cheaper. You should not be doing stuff like this. The creatures are so bad, and every creature not from Alpha or Arabian Nights, well, that's not true. There's been some efficient ones, but most of them are pretty bad. This is really funny. It's just what we want to be encouraging is creatureless decks. It definitely is a card that has uses and can do things. But if you're doing anything with this, it's probably not fair, and you probably did not pay 6 mana for it. But it's alright. It's pretty funny. Pharaoh's Ban was illustrated by Heather Hudson, and the art's really nice. It's very cool. I guess I don't really have much to say about this one. It's, it's a hilarious stacks piece. It comes down, and they're like, well, fuck. But let's move on. All right, Joven's Tools. Hell yeah, we're learning more about the expert thief Joven. This is an uncommon. It's an artifact. It costs 6 mana. That's cheap. You can pay 4. Target creature cannot be blocked except by walls until end of turn. What? For this mana, I could just have cast 2 fucking Juggernauts, right? What are we doing here? Also, like, what is the story here? It's like the thief tools, right? Like, some of those are lockpicking tools. Like, the rest is like files and punches. I'm not sure. Like, I don't spend too much time breaking into shit, but like, can only be blocked by walls. I mean, like, sure, but like Cemetery Gate is a wall, and that has a gate, right? Like, don't you think that walls usually have gates, right? That can be lockpicked. This just doesn't fucking make any sense. And also, it doesn't have anything to do with stealing. We keep talking about this great Master Thief Joven and his ability to blow up an artifact and his ferret that can, like, what did it do? Gives us like +2 when it attacks, and then something else that, it's stunned anything that blocks it. Yeah, because his ferret has the ability to make you tired or something. I don't know. And then his tools, which can allow you to avoid anything that isn't a wall for some reason. This is just stupid. Like, the effect isn't even all that particularly good. Like, unblockable, sure, and it's pretty rare at this point, but it's not that rare. You can do the same thing with an invisibility, and that's 2 blue mana, and you only gotta do it once. And this is 6 mana, and then 10 mana before you've gotten an unblockable creature. Just cast another fucking creature, dude. What are we fucking doing? This is fucking annoying, too, because the best defense anyone has for this fucking set, other than that the art is peak, which it is that the flavor is good, and that there's interesting lore, which, sure, but, like, some of the cards it transfers to really nice, and other cards it just fucking doesn't. This doesn't make any fucking sense to me. This doesn't make me invested in the story. It doesn't make me give a shit about any of this. It's just really annoying that I'm looking at this card that is just transparently fucking awful. And, like, it's not like this is the first set and we really don't know what we're doing. Like, sure, it's still very early, and tournament structure is just, like, basically started. But, like, come on, this is transparently bad, right? I don't know. Maybe it's fine. Unblockable is really nice, but I would say invisibility isn't worth a fucking card slot. What the fuck is this? But I guess whatever. I'm getting mad for no reason. This was illustrated by Nicola Leonard, and the art is nice. The art is fine. Like, it looks like the tools of a thief. It's very cool, very interesting. I appreciate that. Otherwise, this is stupid. Let's move on. We're almost done with the artifacts, only 2 left. But right now, we are talking about this common. Roterothopter? 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 Rotoro... Rotothopter? Rotoro... I'm not entirely sure how this is supposed to be pronounced, if it's some type of Rotothopter or Roterothopter. I don't fucking know. I think it's stupid. Anyway, it's a 0/2 artifact creature that costs 1 mana. Flying, and then you can pay 2, +1/+0 until end of turn. You cannot spend more than 4 in this way each round. Yeah. It's almost as good as Ornithopter. Almost as good as Ornithopter. Bro, why does it cost 1? Okay, so 2 mana for +1/+0 is not a great rate, but it's kind of okay, and it's kind of interesting. How much you can spend each turn, I guess. Like, they had a habit of doing that. They did it on Dragon Whelp and a couple others. This is just, like, comically bad. This is just a comically bad card, and it's kind of insulting in a way. I don't know. I can't... Alright, so this is Ornithopter, but you can pump it up. So because you can pump it up, you have to pay 1 for it, which, whatever. A 0/2 with flying for 1 is not obviously great, but it's fine. You would pay 4 mana, make it a 2/2. You could pay 1 mana, make it a 1/2. This set is bad. I got nothing else. I don't know what I'm supposed to say about this. This is stupid. It's bad. Like, it's kind of a neat idea. It's just kind of insulting at this point. There's like 6 fucking cards in this whole set that I'm even the least bit excited to play. There's so many that I just never want to fucking read again. And this is one of them. It was illustrated by Amy Weber. As I've said, I like Amy's work. I think this is pretty interesting. It's kind of confusing in a way, but all of her work is, and that there's kind of a charm there in the doohickey nature of it. But this card is stupid, so I guess let's talk about the last one. Hey, it's a playable card. Serrated Arrows is a common. It's an artifact. Costs 4 mana. When Serrated Arrows comes into play, put 3 arrowhead counters on it. During your upkeep, bury Serrated Arrows if there are no arrowhead counters on it. Remove an arrowhead counter from Serrated Arrows to put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Serrated Arrows is actually a pretty decent card. It's obviously meta dependent, but if you look at the side, this got played in the Pro Tour quite a bit, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, it's colorless, so it could fit in any deck, but also the meta at the time. So this is 4 mana, it goes down, and you can machine gun down over the course of 3 turns, either 3 1/1s, or you can make 3 2/2s into 1/1s and then like block them or attack over them and make it awkward for them. Or you can take a 5/5 down to a 2/2 over the course of 3 turns, right? There's actually quite a bit of versatility in here. And -1/-1 counters are actually really good because they stay. So Serrated Arrows, like, it might not look like much. And to be fair, it isn't. But it is quite strong, especially with 1v1 and especially in a meta where, everybody's required to run some bad cards. I like Serrated Arrows. It's hard to complain about it too much because it saw some play. And I definitely don't think the card needs to be worse. I don't think it's busted, obviously. Like, it's not like it gets to play, like, it's modern legal. I doubt it's ever showed up in a modern list. Or at least a serious one. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think it's a perfectly fine card. Thick as fuck and limited for sure. Like, it's a common. I would grab every fucking one of these you see because there's no color requirement and you can just machine gun down their shit eventually. This is a pretty solid card. It's a really interesting piece of removal, and it's really nice to see removal here. It's also really interesting because it's on board. Obviously, they probably have some creatures down before you play this, but once you play it, they're like, well, oh shit. But it's not like they can stop advancing their game state, right? Because, like, if they never figure out a way to deal with this, well, then they never deal with it, right? So it's interesting. I like it. I think it makes games richer. And that's really all I've ever wanted out of cards, is that they are interesting. They provide some sort of change to the game experience that is maybe not unique, but also not mundane. Cards that make you think about the game in a different way. And this card is really great for that, because the first time, at least the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, 4 mana for that? Um, and it's definitely, this feels like a hard card to, like, kind of like look at and be like, oh, that's pretty good. And again, it's not always pretty good, right? Like, if it doesn't do anything and it's not fast enough, it's not good enough. And it's a very slow card. But I do think that it's pretty cool. I appreciate it very much. I guess the biggest annoyance I have with it is that there are 5 arrowheads in the art and it only gives you 3 counters. But, like, whatever. I can get over that. I don't know how much value it would have in old schools these days, but probably. This is probably worth playing if you're in a color that can't deal with creatures super well for whatever reason, or if you have like artifact synergies and you're looking for ways to make more of your removal like be artifacts, or like maybe you're rewarded for casting artifacts or whatever. There's also some neat things you can do with this for like, it doesn't remove itself until the next upkeep. Either if you have instant speed stuff or you do it on your turn, you have some time to sacrifice this for value. So, like, you can play this, use the 3 things, then you could sacrifice it to a Sage of Latnam to get a free card draw. Hell yeah, buddy. And then fucking use your, like, Drafna's Restoration to get it back and do it all over again. You could sacrifice it to a Tog. There's interesting things you can do here that are kind of funny. Not that I think it's a really super good card in, like, in a Tog deck or anything, but it's stuff you could do. But yeah, that's it for the artifacts. All right. We are not going to spend too much time on these lands. I'm just going to lay it out to you straight. There are 5 of them, and all 5 of them are the same thing. So we will talk about the cycle, I guess, while we're looking at this one. And then we will discuss all the art and talk about how great the art is. All right? Okay. So this land is on Hava Township, and you can tap it to add a colorless mana to your mana pool. Okay. Then you can pay 1 and tap it to add a green. Okay. Filter land, sure. Then you can pay 2 mana and tap it to add white to your mana pool. Or you can pay 2 mana and tap it to add red to your mana pool. These are awful. These are terrible cards. These have never been run anywhere ever by anyone, except people just trying to make it work. I like these. These are really fucking interesting. These are the first tri-lands ever, and they are attempting to balance them in a way that isn't pay life. That's really interesting, but they missed the fucking mark. If this was filter lands for white and red, and you could add green, then I think these would be fine. But you would have to tap 3 lands, or like a land and a soul ring, because you'd have to tap this plus 2 mana to make a white. That's 3 lands. Like these are just transparently bad. Like, I don't know what I should say here. They're awful. They're not good to play with, and it's a really fucking upsetting that they're not good to play with, because these are very interesting. And it's weird to me because, like, we have balancing mechanisms. You could make these legendary lands and just make them a little bit better. Maybe City of Brass is too much, and we don't want like a land that can tap for that many colors and stuff. It would, sure, fine, but like, it could still tap for one of the 3 and pay a life, or even make it like tap to add a green, and then if you want to add a white or a red, you have to pay a life or 2 life or whatever. But this is just awful. This is just ridiculous. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm not a professional game designer, and us talking about how this could be better is, I guess, not productive. The card is the way that it is, and it's not going to change. Like, I guess, whatever, you can also just make new cards, which they did. They made tricolors that are way fucking better than this. But it's just kind of a shame. They are very not good. And And there are balancing methods that they could have gone through that wasn't this. Like I said, make them a legendary land and make them cracked. It would have been fine. Well, I guess the legendary land rule was kind of shit at the time. And if these were good enough to be popular, then it would have been kind of rough. But, like, you didn't even need to make them legendary. You could have just made them good. It would have been okay. It would have been fine. I get that the dual lands are too good, but there are some steps between that and this. And I feel like we... You know, actually, I do kind of appreciate these because they are a perfect fucking example of what I'm talking about with this set. What a way to end this, because these really help highlight all of my criticisms with this set. These cards are so fucking cool. The first time I saw this, I was like, oh my god, it's 3 colors, hell yeah. And then I read the card and I was just left empty. Like, because there's no way. There's no way you ever play this in a game and you don't fucking auto lose. The art is so great, the flavor on this is so incredible, and it is a desired effect. And it's just bad. It's terrible. It's transparently bad for anybody who's played more than 2 hours of Magic. And I just don't understand. It's really upsetting in its own way. I mean, it's not upsetting now, right? Like, just play whatever you want, proxy whatever you want, make errata changes. I play Magic in a way where I just do what I fucking want. And I don't listen to any rules. If there's errata I like, I will use it. If there's errata I don't, I won't. And I just do whatever I want as long as my friends are okay with it. And usually with my friends, we all either play like Commander sometimes, not very often, or like we'll be playing like occasionally we'll do I haven't done one of these in a while, but my friends do what do they call it? Modern Players Gauntlet. I think they call it a gauntlet, right? So he's got all the modern decks, and like some of them are proxied because even modern's fucking expensive. When they're testing a deck or trying to like tweak their deck or something, they'll go through a gauntlet and they'll just play, okay, so we're playing modern and we're just running through these decks playing 1v1. Otherwise we play fucking cubes or a draft or something like that. So everything is just kind of this experience that is not a tournament thing except for prepping for tournaments. And obviously for tournaments you just have to play the best cards that are available or whatever you want and accept that like maybe you won't do as well. But, like, you're not showing up to a fucking tournament with this, even if you love the art, right? At least not unless you are just there to troll. So, I don't know. It's hard to be too mad, right? Because, again, it's a fucking early set. But these cards are terrible. And they're embarrassingly terrible. They're insultingly terrible. And I think they speak to this entire set having some great ideas for lore and storytelling. And being very interesting. Like, all of the cards are pretty fucking interesting in their own different ways. And a lot of that comes from the intrigue of the story. But, like, just because the top half of every one of these cards is awesome doesn't, like, excuse the fact that the bottom half is garbage in 90% of them. Like, a lot of these are exhausting to read. A lot of them are disappointing to read. A lot of them are unnecessarily confusing. Clearly, whoever was designing these cards felt differently. They, like, to them, Magic was a different game than it is to me. And to be fair, that's cool. Magic is a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and that's fine. But as far as game pieces go, these are not good. They are not interesting. They are not new player friendly. They are not old player friendly. They're not... There's like zero considerations for a player's experience when reading through these cards or thinking about these cards. The art direction is fucking incredible. The artists really fucking carried this set. There's a lot of amazing pieces on this set. And it's actually kind of sad because, like, they just sit in binders because you can't fucking play any of these. Except for, like, Memory Lapse or Merchant Scroll. Anyway, I guess that's all I have. All of these are the same, so let's just... as the last thing we do, look through the art on these lands and just appreciate it. So Liz Danforth here did On Hava Township, and it's fantastic. This is beautiful. The ancient carved kind of Nordic style, the wood houses, the trees. It's lovely. It feels cozy. It feels nice. It feels like a place that's grand. It looks nice and well cared for, and it's just really, really pretty. I really appreciate this. Oh yeah, and these are uncommon. I think I mentioned that. Maybe I didn't. But also for limited, I wouldn't recommend it. You're better off just Like this is you're better off putting just any basic in the deck. Even if you want to play like a lot of colors, like you could certainly fucking try it. If you use like one or two or maybe three of each card of each color card, and they all only have one fucking pip, and you just run all of the artifacts, and these will still cast your artifacts just fine. And so like you could maybe make that work and then have color fixing. So you could maybe build like a 5-color deck with all of these stupid fucking things. I don't think that'll work out well for you, but it's certainly possible. But there is non-basic hate in this set. So like if you do that, someone's just gonna fucking nickel and dime you for all of your really shitty lands that you were trying to play just to be funny. So I don't really recommend that. Let's go back to the art. So Ace and Abby was also illustrated by Liz Danforth, and this one, again, fantastic. It's a beautiful art piece. It's a nice, like, you know, obviously some level of civilization. They have clay tile roofing and the ability to make structures. I don't know what I'm saying here. But it's very pretty. It's very interesting. It's very nice. These cards are fun to look at, and I wish I could play them. Or I wish I could play them without being sad. And then we have the Grixis one. Castle Sengir. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Good old Castle Sengir. This one was illustrated by Pete Venters. The art is fantastic. It looks fantastic. It's such a super cool card. Super great that we can all run this in our Sengir Commander lore decks or whatever. It's a thing you can do. Yeah, alright, we'll move on. I really like the art. Pete did fantastic on this one. Alright, then we have the red, black, and green one. This is Koskun Keep? Kuskon? I'm not sure on the pronunciation, but whatever. This was done by Pat Lewis. The art's fucking banger, like the rest of these. This one is also super cool. I don't know that I super like it for a land because it's such a zoomed in, like we can't actually see the keep. We see a body and a door. I wonder if maybe some art shifting happened or something. I'm not sure. I like the art. I think it's fine. But I prefer if we're going to like have a named place, like we can actually see it. But it's a minor complaint. I do really like the art. So, Wizard School. Yeah. They all have such cool names, too. Anyway, Pat Lewis also did this one. I really like this art. I guess it has the same complaint of not being able to see all of it, but I don't mind it so much in this because you have the path and you see the base of the tower and we can see that there's cliffs and it's very cool. There's enough here to kind of get a sense, and I guess that's really what my criticism of the last one was. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say on the lands. There's like, I don't know, I guess you don't have to like do utility lands and stuff like that, but just doing one cycle of lands and they all suck, I guess whatever, it's a small set, it's fine. To the conclusion we go. Okay, so those are the artifacts and the lands. This set is kind of interesting because most of these artifacts are common, and all of the artifact creatures are common. I've said 1,000 times that this set wasn't designed with limited in mind, or really any form of gameplay, but the inclusion of common artifact creatures does a lot for the playability of this set if you were to draft it. Outside of that, the artifacts and lands here are just another example of how dogshit this set is from a mechanical standpoint. There's 10 artifacts, and 3 of them start with Clockwork. 2 of those are almost exactly the same card, and the gnomes just makes all that kind of confusing and stupid. That being said, the design space here isn't as bad as you might assume. Serrated Arrows is a genuinely interesting and useful card. I really appreciate it. The artifact creatures themselves are mostly okay, and Apocalypse Chime is really fucking stupid. Everything here is just a surface level understanding of the game that's really baffling. I mentioned that City in a Bottle was originally designed as kind of a pro-consumer move, but I didn't mention that it was also sort of a safety valve. Arabian Nights was not playtested at all. Its entire development was like 6 emails, and the major concern was nerfing Library of Alexandria, which is still an insanely strong card after it got nerfed. The difference here is that Apocalypse Chime doesn't really do anything that City in a Bottle was trying to do. It only hits permanents, so it does nothing against the actually good cards in this set, and by this point, Standard was a thing, which at the time was seen as the solution to a lot of what City in a Bottle was trying to do. And on top of that, the Arabian Nights cards were very, very powerful. The Homelands cards kind of are not. Didgeridoo is really fucking funny though, so I appreciate that. There isn't much else to say about the artifacts though, since there really isn't much here. There also isn't much to say about the lands, other than the fact that they are absolute garbage. This set feels so much like Legends 2.0, where it has a pretty rich story and interesting characters, and there's a couple of 2-mana spells that are some of the strongest cards in Magic, especially at the time, and everything else is mostly just complete garbage. Every remotely playable card in this set seems like an accident. Oh well, it is what it is. I'll be doing a couple more videos about this set as a whole, where I go over the lore, exactly how and why this set was made and why it ended up like this, and I'll try to organize my thoughts to give a more satisfying conclusion. But that's all I have for now, so let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, you can like the video if you liked it, you can subscribe if you give a shit, but either way, I hope you have a magical day. Thank you for watching.